Dow fell 1,123, the S&P was down 178, and the Nasdaq dropped 716 points. Lisa Taylor, NBC News Radio. Lisa Taylor, NBC News Radio.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide, based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
One of the best ways to build a healthier local economy is by shopping locally. Teamster Advantage is a shop local program started by Teamster Local 1932 that has brought together hundreds of locally owned businesses to provide discounts for residents who make shopping locally their priority. Everything from restaurants like Corky's to fun times at SB Raceway and much, much more. If you're not currently a Teamster and you want access to these local business discounts, contact Jennifer at 909-889-8377, extension 224. Give her a call. That number again is 909-889-8377, extension 224.
For over 75 years, the Marine Toys for Tots program has provided toys and emotional support to economically disadvantaged children, primarily during the holidays. But needs are not just seasonal, and now, neither is Toys for Tots. They've expanded their outreach to support families in need all year long with their new programs, including the Foster Care Initiative, the Native American Program, and the Youth Ambassador Program. To learn how you can help, visit toysfortots.org.
Don't text and drive. Keep your eyes on the road because that's where it counts. Our sponsor, Grand Plumbing of Highland, is family owned and operated, serving the area with over a decade of quality and pride. Whether it's residential or commercial faucet leak repairs, water heater repairs, drain cleaning, sewer lines, and gas lines, they do it all. Call 909-222-9629. Again, that's 909-222-9629. Honest, affordable, and a name you can trust. That's Grand Plumbing, reminding us to keep our eyes on the road.
Hey, this is Gary Garver. If you work out like I do or have a job where you sit all day and your back hurts and you're in pain and you don't know what to do, I have the perfect solution for you. It's iSpod. iSpod Active is form-fitted compression wear with pockets that fit ice-cold gel packs called FlexPods. These FlexPods fit around your joints, ensuring maximum pain relief. I use it all the time because I'm always active, playing golf, working out, fixing up my place right now, and I put it on in the evening around my back, and it gives me maximum pain relief. Lakers legend James Worthy is a founder of this company and really believes in it. To find out more about iSpod, go to iSpodActive.com and get yours today. That's ICEBOD Active.com. This week they are having a flash sale where you can save 25% off by using the promo code KCAA. Go to iSpotActive.com.
Welcome to the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corrigan, a brand new show about labor and worker issues. The host of the show is Randy Corrigan, Secretary Treasurer and Principal Office and leader of Teamsters 1932, one of the largest public sector labor unions on the West Coast, representing workers in government and non-sworn law enforcement personnel. Randy Corrigan is a 30-year Teamster who first became involved in the labor movement by volunteering his time as an organizer with the Teamsters Union at the age of 21. Since then, he's helped thousands organize, mobilize, and achieve bargaining rights. He accomplished this by spending countless hours with brave men and women all over Southern California, in their living rooms, on the picket line, to bring workers towards victory. This is the Worker Power Hour. And now here's the host of the show, Randy Corrigan.
You know Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen, Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen. But do you recall the most famous reindeer of all?
All right, Randy Corrigan in the Worker Power Hour. Mark, that's a nice little introduction to music. This is KCAA 1050 AM 106.5 FM, the Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network, coming live from San Bernardino. longtime organizer, first-time radio host, and we got Christmas upon us here just in a few days. Isn't that amazing and incredible how quickly it's come through the year? I'll tell you, for myself, I looked up just a few days ago and I went, Christmas is what? Less than 10 days from now? I'm sure all of you feel the same way. I just want you to know, you guess, as we get older, time seems to go even faster. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. I got a lot of amazing guests on this week's show and want to first talk about our show that we had last week on December 11th. And never forget, this is the Worker Power Hour, and what we're doing is building worker power in the Inland Empire. Lots of good things to report on, and we have an amazing lineup of guests today. We had, at last week's show, we had Shay and Duke from Aloha Heat and Plumbing. They offer great discounts, and they've been great Teamster Advantage partners, and they told us some really, really funny stories. I won't get into the details of some of those funny stories, but it was just amazing to hear their passion for making sure plumbing and heating went the right way. And boy, they brought a really good flair to it, as well as knowing that they really enjoyed the island of Hawaii, and that they've been stuck here working themselves to the bone and they can't get back. So that's kind of what ends up happening as we get older and we develop these responsibilities. Sometimes we can't get to those areas. So really appreciate Aloha Heating and Plumbing coming on and talking about all the things that they do and what they offer our members in Teamster Advantage. We also had Zach Duke on, a star player from the Inland Empire Strikers soccer team. Boy, did he do a phenomenal job of talking really about, he was just phenomenal. He was very articulate, was able to get his point across, and really passionate about helping kids in his sport, in addition to just doing right by the community. And again, what an appropriate name, Strikers, for us to sponsor. And as I said before, we got to make sure that we put together an event where we get a lot of our members to that, especially any members that are going to be participating in strikes coming up here pretty soon. I wouldn't know where that is. We'll talk about that in the news here pretty soon. And lastly, we had Tanya Rhodes on, the San Bernardino community advocate. Oh boy, did I not get a lot of feedback for that exchange. And if you're listening, Tanya, we'd love to have you back on again. It was fun. It was energetic. It definitely had some tension in it, which is okay. It's okay to have differing views or different perspectives. I always invite anybody that wants to come on to the show, and I would even love to invite somebody that's on the complete opposite side of some subjects in which I've brought up, and would love to debate those things live on the air and let people understand it. But thank you, Tanya, and I think everybody really enjoyed the dialogue and understood kind of where we're going with some things when it comes to the subjects we talked about, especially community outreach and our participation in the community, and making sure that within the community itself we're doing a really good job of doing our part and making sure that we're genuine in our approach to kind of help one another out. And so don't forget, as a reminder, you have the KCAA app in the Apple or Google Play Store that you can listen to the show live. Right now, if you had the app and you just open the app up, it immediately opens up to what's going on live on the show. It makes it really easy to listen to the live stream version of our show, especially if you're listening to anything else on KCAA, or you're listening to the Worker Power Hour on KCAA on the app itself. And so transitioning over to our live shout outs, really want to our Teamster Advantage partner, Tim Terrell, and staff at Broadband 66 in Needles. Yes, we have people listening all the way in Needles, California, 210 miles away. Really appreciate that. Rose Gallegos at ARMC, and then we have a good bunch of ARMC folks with Megan Bray. Hey, happy birthday, Megan. I hear it's your birthday. If it's not your birthday, I'm sorry. Somebody gave me a bad message, but happy birthday, Megan. Yes, give her a round of applause. Sandy Cabrera, Jeremy Lopez, David Mitchell, Krista Kunter at Nutritional Services at ARMC, Olivia Guabar. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. And, we had the Westside Clinic in here, came in right before the show started and surprised me with cookies and a card. Really, really appreciate you coming in and doing that. Thank you, Chaz and team from the Westside Clinic. That was very nice to very. If I'm actually in a good mood today, even though I got a lot of stuff going on. But if I wasn't in a good mood, that would have really put me in a good mood. So it even puts me in an even better mood. So Chaz, thank you very much for thinking of us like that and coming down and doing what you guys did. And so that's it for our live shout outs. The next part of our show is labor heroes and labor events. So one of the things that we're focusing on is not only Teamster jobs, but is those individuals in the labor movement over the last 150 years that have done great things, in addition to specific times and events. And, sometimes people don't want to hear the details of these events because it makes others look bad. But, labor movement has been really challenged over 150 years with the social pressures of entities essentially pushing back on workers. And that's led to some pretty tough confrontations. And one of those actually happened as recently as 1990, which is the Justice for Janitors on June 15th of 1990. It's a very significant date in labor history because when I spell out what happened, you're going to think that was something that was out of the 1930s or 1940s. And for those of us that have been in the labor movement, we actually we see these things a little bit too often, and it's important for us to recognize that they can still happen in today's day if we don't learn and understand and exercise our rights correctly. Our right in this country of freedom to assemble, freedom to protest, our freedom to strike, our freedom to do these types of things is protected, and sometimes there are entities to forget that. And the Justice for Janitors campaign on June 15th of 1990, the Los Angeles Police Department viciously attacked immigrant janitors who were striking for the right to organize in Century City, Los Angeles. In a story that is now all too familiar, the police claimed they were defending themselves. Only later, when TV news footage exposed that the clubbing and nonviolent strikers was that the self-defense claim was completely discredited. 2 women ended up miscarrying as a result of it. Dozens were hospitalized, and 60 strikers and supporters were thrown in jail. After the violence, and again, this isn't violence by the strikers, this was violence that was agitated by the police coming and breaking up the picket line. The workers regrouped in a nearby park where one of the strikers said, "What they did to us today in front of all the TV cameras is the way that police have been treating us every single day." Another woman striker told the reporter, "I wasn't robbing a bank or selling drugs. I'm simply asking for an increase in pay, but the police beat us as if we were garbage." Now, look, we're saying this and pointing this out because not all police officers are bad, and not all police forces are bad, and quite frankly, we now have a great relationship with the Los Angeles Police Department. They no longer do this. Because of their actions in 1990, they had to go through a number of things where they learned that you can't do that type of thing. You have to respect the people's right to protest. You have to respect a worker's right to strike, and you have to respect that engagement in that process. And as now, many years later, they have what they call our labor advocates, what they call labor detail for the police department. And those labor detail individuals understand the intricacies of the law when it comes to what workers have a right to do. And when workers are assembling to do something, it's actually slightly different than when the general public is assembling to do something. And even though you have your First Amendment right, you have additional rights stacked on top of it as a result of being a worker and being in a protest that's connected to working people. And so this isn't said to say all police officers are bad or all police forces are bad. Not at all. As I pointed out, LAPD, we now have a great relationship with them when it comes to labor detail. And so it's important for us to recognize that when people do make mistakes, that they should own up to it and they should adjust and do the right thing going forward. But we should never forget the struggle. And quite frankly, that Justice for Janitors campaign, those workers, what they overcame in that few years where they organized a lot of janitors and housekeepers in the hotels and a lot of the office buildings in the Los Angeles area, it was a game changer for them to where they could actually buy homes. They can actually, financially and economically be a real good contributing partner in their community. And, we have to look back on June 15th, 1990 and make sure that we don't allow those things to repeat themselves. And so our labor hero is Dolores Huerta. She was one of the founders of the United Farm Workers along with Cesar Chavez. Many people don't know that she actually was the person who negotiated the first contract for the farm workers. Yes, another situation where woman does the work and a man gets the credit. And far too many times that's happened in America. And, what we want to do on this show is make sure that everybody gets the right credit, whether you're a woman or you're a man. And the reality is Dolores had done a phenomenal job of building that union. And many people don't know that she actually negotiated that very first contract for the farm workers. And she stood on picket lines and marched in protest to support workers for social justice causes. As well as September 16th, 1988, Dolores was distributing great boycott literature during a protest outside a hotel where Vice President Bush was speaking. Police charged in, struck her with a baton, and doctors had to remove her spleen as a result of those 2 fractured ribs. So that kind of tells you sometimes, here you are, you have workers standing up, and all of a sudden they're met with this resistance where they get beat up. And I mean, imagine that. People who know Dolores' name is a household name. And thinking back to 1988, something like that ended up happening. It's things that shouldn't go on. Dolores at the time was 58 years old, and she stood 5'2". Now remember, she's still alive today. And matter of fact, she was just on the Hispanic Caucus's podcast here, I think about 2 years ago, and she's still same person's out doing social justice and encouraging workers to come together and encouraging people to do things to help one another out. And at the time she was 5'2", weighing a whopping 105 pounds. Really uncalled for. That didn't need to happen to her, and that didn't slow her down. She continues to support workers and social justice causes all the way to this day at 94 years of age. And she is still as active today as she was 20, 30, 40 years ago. And so let's get a big round of applause for Dolores Huerta, making sure that everybody understands how important she was to the labor movement and to the farm workers as a whole. The last hero I want to give a shout out to is just all the unsung labor heroes. Shop stewards, active members that make our union strong. The workers who made our leaders successful, such as Philip A. Randolph or Jimmy Hoffa or any of them that we talk about on the show. The workers that stood on picket lines and signed union cards. No different than the Amazon workers today that are standing up against one of the largest companies in the world. We honor those brave men and women, those brave working people, the working class. We honor them today as our labor heroes. And so, yeah, big round of applause for all the work that they're doing. And this is, again, a reminder to download the KCAA app. Don't forget, you can get it on Apple Store or Google Play to make sure that you can listen live. Again, you just got to open that up. As soon as you open that app up, boom, the live stream pops right in. And so, in our Teamster Advantage Network, which is my most it's the program that I'm most proud of in our organization. We've built a relationship with more than 1,000 small businesses and organizations within the Inland Empire. And that relationship is very diverse in not just small businesses and restaurants, it's also nonprofits and community organizations. And today, one of the things that we're lucky to have is we have some of the individuals from the Make-A-Wish Foundation at Cajon High School. We have the president and 2 vice presidents sitting here to my right, which is left on the screen. And one of the things that I love about the Teamster Advantage program is that we're connected to the community in a way, not just in 26 chambers of commerce, but we advertise on our app as well as we advertise on our show and all the other spaces that we are for these small businesses, because we try to encourage the local community to connect to small business, connect to these small organizations or these small nonprofits. And, it just makes the community and the local economy more robust as a result of doing that. And today we have Natalie, Camille, and Lindsay on here. Is that correct? Did I get everybody correct?
Yes.
All right. Well, why don't you, Madam President, why don't you start and tell us about what you do with the Make-A-Wish at Cajon High School, and what would you like to say? You've got the floor to all of our listeners.
Okay, hi. So, firstly, our club is in direct association with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which is a charity organization that raises money to make seriously ill children's wishes come true. So that's like taking kids to Disneyland, having them meet their favorite artists, and just a bunch of really cool stuff like that. So at our school, we specifically try to have as many fundraisers as possible to raise as much money as possible to donate to the foundation to make these kids' wishes come true. So far, during my time as president, during our first semester, we've already raised almost $2,000. So that's almost 2 complete wishes, 1 full wish come true already. But this club all started 2 years ago, our sophomore year, when our founder, Anastasia Tortoro, decided to start the club her junior year because her brother was a Make-A-Wish kid with leukemia. Her family got to go to Disneyland because of Make-A-Wish Foundation, so she wanted to give back to her community and allow others to become part of the community as well. So we just wanted to continue the club in order to kind of bridge the gap between our community and the cancer community, because we noticed that throughout our school life that a lot of people didn't really know about seriously ill kids. They just weren't introduced to the community, or were just kind of scared of them for some reason. So we allow the kids at our school to kind of integrate themselves into that community by allowing them different volunteer opportunities, like at the Ronald McDonald House in Loma Linda right by us. And
yeah,
then
we just saw you just last week, right?
Yeah, at
Yes.
the Winter Wonderland.
Yes.
We had our Disney photo booth when we dressed up as Disney characters. And then we also just host like monthly fundraisers, as I mentioned before.
Well, that's great work. You know, I commend you at this age to already be doing that. Don't lose that. Like it's very rewarding. Some of us find it later on in life. We didn't find it when we were younger, and it's just a great space to be in. Sometimes it's a bit taxing, but that's great that you're encouraging your peers to understand and see other and become empathetic for those that are struggling. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it interesting to see how people turn a corner real quick when they go away from ignorance into empathy?
Yeah, we've definitely noticed that.
And one thing I want to highlight too is
Pull your mic just a little bit closer.
for example,
You can pull it closer. Yeah, there you go.
so, like at the Ronald McDonald House, it's like personally one of my favorite events that we've done. I've done it for the past 3 years already since my sophomore year, and it's just really honest and genuine work. Like one thing that I love seeing is the joy on the children's faces of when they're seeing their favorite Disney character standing right in front of them. Like for example, at the like 2 weeks ago, we did the Ronald McDonald House event. And there was this one child who he just kept looking at us like he was in such amazement. It was like true, genuine joy that you could see it in his eyes. And it's just something that like it brings me joy whenever I think about it. And it feels like I'm so grateful that we were able to have this opportunity to join this club and like continue on like the legacy that this club has left on for us. And we want to continue to like spread the joy and happiness that it brings for us and the children that we affect.
Yeah, that's an amazing event, and it's one that I know a lot of our staff, our members, and board members, they really look forward to that throughout the year because of exactly what you just pointed out, the joy in everybody's face, just trying to, you know, it's just seeing that moment and the different experiences they have. So, Natalie, is there anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, just if I could add on too, I feel like very grateful that we had this like opportunity to join the club our sophomore year. I remember when we first joined, it was probably just like a handful of us there, like half a dozen of us. And over the years, we've been able to see the club just grow and flourish. And I'm just very grateful that we're able to give back to our community and things like that. And I feel like I'm a very firm believer that like change starts with yourself. And so that I think if you're ever feel like giving back to your community and things like that, just to do it because you never know the opportunities it could open and everything. And I feel like this club and all the other extracurriculars we're a part of at our school allows us to give back to our communities and things like that. And just I'm just grateful to be like a part of that and to actually make impacts on people's lives.
Isn't it amazing how it always seems to come back full circle too? If you give, you always get somehow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know this was like really exemplified for me last year when we did the Ronald McDonald House, because for that one I dressed up as Snow White, and there's this one little girl in particular who came up and like specifically asked for a photo with Snow White, and then she just kept coming back like multiple times over and over, and just like seeing that I was able to make her day just really solidified my belief in the club that like we were doing something, or we are like definitely doing something good that's impacting people for the better.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to close on this, and if there's anything else you want to say, feel free to go ahead and say it. You got the mic in front of you, and the whole world is listening to you. So But is there anything you want anybody to take from this? And obviously, your message of encouraging people to help, encouraging people to do something themselves, and encouraging people to participate in what you're doing. What else is it that you'd like to get across to them?
I think just putting yourself out there, like make sure you go out, try to learn. Don't just like stay in a little bubble. Like go out in your community, join stuff even if you're scared, because it's really beneficial to you and definitely beneficial to the community around you, because it's just something that you'll be able to hold with you for the rest of your life. And I know this club has definitely been something for me that I'm gonna take with me forever.
If I could add on too.
You can add on anything you want.
Okay, I feel like it could be very intimidating sometimes to like try something new or to like take on a lot. But I think that like even like something small, like going and like donating to like a charity or volunteering at like a foundation or something like that, like something small can lead to big change. So don't be scared to try something new or to try and give back, because like there's always going to be something good. And even like I think the thing that we get in return is just like seeing like the joy on people's faces and stuff like that. Like none of us expect any like rewards or anything in return. We just do it because we like doing it and we like to make people's lives better.
And life always has a good way of giving back when you're in that space. I know, I know it's a cliche. It's something that everybody kind of says, but it's true. And an old guy like me, I can say that when I've spent times of my life where I've been in that space of positive, it comes back positive. And if I've spent times where I'm not positive, guess what? I don't get a lot of positive. Like, it is so true. So thank you so much on behalf of our organization and everything we do and our members. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and thank you for what you do every day. And boy, are your words, every person that's listening to this should take everything you said and follow exactly not just what you said to do, but the example you give every day. So big round of applause.
Thank you so
for
much.
them.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Let's hear the Mark's supposed to have the applause ready. What happened to Mark here? There he is.
Thank you.
There he is.
Thank you.
So let's take a quick break so that we can switch guests. And again, thank you very much for coming on. And you guys have been friends for a very long time, right?
Yes, since kindergarten.
Since
13
kindergarten.
years.
All right, for 13
strong.
years. That's good.
Start to the end of school, K through 12.
All right. This is Randy Corrigan on the Worker Power Hour, KCAA 105.FM, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and the Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network, live from San Bernardino. Apparently, I'm a little tongue-twisted today. Take it away, Mark.
Hey, girl. Oh, now. You know you got everybody looking. Got a little boom in my big truck. Gonna open up the doors and turn it up. Gonna stomp my boots in the Georgia mud. Gonna watch you make me fall in love. Get up on the hood of my daddy's tractor. Up on the toolbox, it don't matter. Down on the tailgate, girl, I can't wait to watch you do your thing. Shake it for the young bucks sitting in the honky-tonks. For the rednecks rocking till the break of dawn. The DJ spinning that country song. Come on, come on, come on. Shake it for the birds, shake it for the bees. Shake it for the catfish swimming down deep in the creek. For the crickets and the critters and the squirrels. Shake it to the moon, shake it for me, girl. Oh, country girl, shake it for me, girl. Shake it for me, girl. Shake it for me. Country girl, shake it for me, girl. Shake it for me, girl. Shake it for me. Somebody's sweet little farmer's child that got it in her blood to get a little wild. Ponytail and a pretty smile, roping me in from a country mile. So come on over here and get in my arms, spin me around this big old barn, tangle me up like grandma's yarn. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Shake it for the young bucks sitting in the honky-tonks, for the rednecks rocking till the break of dawn, for the DJ spinning that country song. Come on, come on, come on. Shake it for the birds, shake it for the bees, shake it for the catfish swimming down deep in the creek, for the crickets and the critters and the squirrels. Shake it to the moon, shake it for me, girl. Country girl, shake it for me, girl. Shake it for me, girl. Shake it for me. Country girl, shake it for me, girl. Shake it for me, girl.
Here we are, back on the Worker Power Hour, KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM. The Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network, live from San Bernardino. Boy, weren't they great? Unbelievable. Tim, what do you think of who was just in here? Weren't those young ladies amazing?
You know, I've been honored to work for 40 years with kids, so I'm very impressed.
Very impressed. Like that is, talk about message being spot on, an understanding of what needs to be done. You know, a lot of adults, older adults, I mean, I would call them young adults, but, you know, a lot of us could learn something from those young ladies.
Very committed.
Yeah, and having a head on your shoulders of what is a priority in life and understanding empathy, right?
And they had
Empathy
no
is a
fear.
big thing.
They had no fear on the radio. They just jumped right in.
Yeah, and right, they jumped. They were excited. They're taking pictures. They're like, "Let's go!" And you could tell they're a little nervous, but they blew right through that nervousness with
Thanks for giving them the opportunity.
Always, we love this. That's what we love about this space is we're able to do some things that are a bit unique. You know, they're and our union is all about trying to educate the public on good things, and that comes up to what you're doing here. You're with Unforgettables, correct?
I'm honored to be the guy that started 25 years ago.
All right. Well, obviously, as part of the Teamster Advantage Network and part of our organization with all the community groups that we have, we appreciate you coming on. And I'm not going to go through my whole rap on that again like I did at the top of the other segment. But feel free. Why don't you introduce yourself, talk about your program so all of our listeners can have a better understanding of all this great work that you're doing, Tim.
Thank you. You know, I've gotten to know Mark at a bunch of the chambers in the area.
You following him around all the chambers?
A lot of them.
Yes.
I try to belong to like 12 to 15, and he's at most of them.
Yes.
But 25 years ago, after being the first chaplain for Loma Linda Children's Hospital, I moved out here from being at an inner city church as a youth minister in Washington, D.C. So in 90, Loma Linda created a separate standalone children's hospital. And I was the guy that was invited to come out and be the first chaplain. You know, that's kind of pastor, priest, rabbi, and all the other things wrapped into one. And so for 13, 14 years, I was able and privileged and honored to be with families when their kids died. And kids who were fighting illness and kids who were in the process of dying. And then when they've died, you know, everyone in the hospital is very alert to that, and the chaplain is the one that kind of has like 5 seconds to build rapport with absolute strangers on the very worst day of that family's life.
Right.
And so it's a great privilege, and lots of families would tell me after the child had died, especially the dads, "Hey, dude, how are we going to afford the funeral?"
Right.
And I used to think there was something, so I went in, and there was nothing nationally, nothing statewide, nothing locally, nothing in the charity world that was specific to helping families with funeral costs. So a group of us, you know, I'm an outsider. I have one blood relative left in the U.S. because my family immigrated from England when I was 4. But the role of being chaplain of Children's Hospital really allowed me to meet a lot of key leaders. And I pulled them together in April '99, and we created the Unforgettables Foundation.
Awesome. And so specifically, what do you do in your fundraising?
We are a community bank of sorts. We're a 501c3 charity, but different than a lot of these other charities. We help all child-helping charities in the Inland Empire and Orange County. But we're different in that our families really don't want to be touched. They don't want to be hugged. They don't want to be engaged. They don't want as much as they may need it. They don't want food made for them or
They're
shoes
going
for
through
them.
The immense challenge.
The
Yes.
immense dark times. And so it is a hard time for us to get our volunteers connected because they basically have to be fundraisers. That's the way that they help, and it's phenomenal. So we do a charity outreach pretty regularly throughout the year to make sure that we have money in our account.
Well, Tim, thank you for doing something and taking on a task like this. What an incredible challenge.
Thank you.
Most difficult time for people, like most difficult time. And you found this void and said, I'm going to try to make a little bit of a difference here. And it appears as if you've made a really big difference in a lot of families.
We've been blessed in that you know, where all these other charities that you mentioned earlier, Make-A-Wish, Ronald McDonald House, I'd add Salvation Army, they were all created somewhere else and came here, which is beautiful. I'm all for all the charities. But we may be the only charity created in the Inland Empire in the last 50 years that's gone to other states and to Canada.
Nice.
So I feel good that we've helped
Homegrown, right here in
families.
IE.
We're homegrown.
That's good. And that's why we have you on this show, is because
Thank
we're
you.
transforming the Inland Empire.
And you guys have supported us too. So thank you very, very much.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to say before we wrap this part of the show up?
I just totally agree with you that from a young age, we should be getting our kids into philanthropic mindset. And all of the groups and associations and businesses and families can do something like you are doing through your union. And just be active, get involved, stick your feet in the water, and make a difference to some lives.
If somebody wants to donate to the Unforgettables, can we say here on the air what they can do to donate?
Unforgettables.org.
Nice and simple. Unforgettables.org.
And we help from 18 years down to 22 weeks of pregnancy for all causes of childhood death. And our tagline is, because every child is truly unforgettable.
That is correct. Well, thank you very much, Tim, for coming on. Anything else you want to close on by saying?
You guys are great to get me on. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, the whole spiel.
Thank you very much. Have a good holiday. Get us a quick break real quick, and then we're going to transfer over some music. This is Randy Corrigan, KCAA, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, the Worker Power Hour, Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network. We'll just do a quick 15, 20-second break on music. Thank you, Mark. All right. I'm anxious to see the ratings on the music this week. Nice little shift between the styles. Randy Corrigan in the Worker Power Hour, KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, the Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network. Reminding you that we are live from San Bernardino, California. And actually, I'm just going to go right into my next my next guest. As you can see, today is busy. We have lots of guests today. We are stacked up, and that is a good thing. We have a lot of people coming on the show. We're excited about all the people that want to come on the show, and sometimes it's hard to get them all in, but we'll do it. And if we got to have more breaks to switch out the guests, the more the merrier. I'm joined by Mike Ochoa. Mike and I have been working together for about 5 or 6 years. I'll let him introduce himself and talk about his pedigree and all the great things that he's doing with us. But I just want to segue real quick that Mike has really been helpful to the local union and our membership, especially, man, when the onset of COVID happened, we were trying to identify masks and get testing. And for all of you listening that actually went through our testing systems when no one else could actually get that taken care of. You're actually gonna have we have the guy on the air that helped us solve that problem and bring that to a reality when none of these other entities or institutions could fix it. We were able to fix it right here, right across the street on the other corner. And also the information I've been able to learn by building a coalition of people regarding the healthcare industry and kind of learning how to roll out. And we'll get into some of that as we get into the topics of this. But thank you, Mike. I really appreciate you coming on. And we got to do is get get this up here.
Yep. Perfect.
We got to get that to tighten up a little bit. But you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Well, first, it's my pleasure to be here. Randy, your leadership has always been something I've admired, and it's been great to be a resource to the local 1932 membership. As you've said, I mean, we've had a long history. I was telling Randy earlier that it goes back to 2019, prior to COVID, and it started with a conversation with Randy saying, hey, the healthcare status quo is not acceptable, and we need to find other options for the membership. My company, CEO of Transcend Health, we're focused on prevention and population health and bringing on-site, near-site clinics to local membership, and really at the end of the day working with partnerships with health plans and working in an ecosystem, all with the common goal of trying to bring more transparency, more cost savings, more access to care. And when Randy and I had this conversation back in 2019, he really kind of put it back on me. It was like, here's my vision, Mike. How do we make this happen? How do we work together with all of our great partners, whether that's a health plan or, Milliman has been a great partner, and all of the different entities that have their hand in shaping healthcare. How do we make it work so that we can get the membership downstream better access to care? And one of the things that Randy's brought me to do is to talk about where we've been, where are we going with the Teamsters Local 1932 Health and Welfare Clinic, and health and wellness clinic, I should say, prevention being the goal. And one of the things
which is going to be housed right here in this building.
Right.
Isn't
exactly.
it crazy? We're going to have a clinic. We got the Union Hall. We got our administrators. We got the radio show. We got all this cool stuff on this campus.
I mean, hey, Randy.
Yeah.
Can we have a convenience store?
At some point. We may need one with, keep bringing all this stuff to this area. Yeah.
That's not out of the question. This is all for the membership. One of the biggest thing, and I was talking a little bit earlier to your receptionist, and I said, what are you looking for the most from this clinic? What are you excited about? And she said, really just the convenience and the access. Sometimes people have to wait 3 months to get a primary care visit. And one of the things that we see in trends is more people are going to urgent cares.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. That's what's crazy is your primary care provider, it's so hard to get in to see your primary care provider, whether you're at Kaiser or anywhere, that when there's something that's come up, like it's urgent care. And so essentially what's happening is the urgent care doctors are the ones that are dealing with things that should be a primary care. And so ironically, there's the system, you can't get contact with your doctor, so you get to urgent care. So there's a surcharge. It's a higher charge because you went to urgent care.
Correct.
And so now it's hitting the system twice, where you first don't get contact with your known doctor, and then second, it's a higher charge.
Right.
When it's not even your fault. It's not your fault that the system access to care is so limited.
Yeah, and the Teamsters deserve better, right? And that's what we always talked about is how do we create efficiencies to be able to get access to primary care, and how do we get back to building trust with the same doctors that you're not seeing in urgent care that has no idea your chart history, your history, your diagnoses, and how can we get some continuity of care because you've built some rapport with the doctor.
So how does our clinic fix that? The clinic that we hope to have up and running by June or July of this year,
Correct.
It'll literally be on the other side of that hallway.
Exactly. Yeah.
How is that going to help?
It's going to help because you're going to have access to your own primary care doctors. It could be mid-levels, but you're going to have an infrastructure.
They're going to be able to come in here and see them?
Yeah, they're going to be able to come in here. We're looking at having a virtual urgent care available for the membership. There can be a number of services, just to kind of go to something we've done. We have asked the membership, and we've polled the membership on what services would you like to see, what things mattered the most to you. And so we've rolled that up so that we can shape this based on the needs that you have.
And we're going to continue to be asking them in follow-up surveys. So if you haven't gotten the survey yet, or somehow you missed the survey, another one will be coming to you, right?
Yeah, another one will be coming. Your shop stewards are also going to be putting that out and be kind of the point people to guide this and guide the feedback. But tomorrow night I'll be here for your membership meeting. I'll be able to help survey and get some of that disseminated. We'll have a QR code available for that. But we want to hear you. We want to make sure that
we want to know what people are going to utilize. Correct. Because what we don't want to do is build something and then it just sits vacant, right? Like we need to know, and we understand. I think that the challenge that I've come to learn that was an eye-opener for me is a lot of people aren't going to just move systems like healthcare. Like even as much as people don't like the fact that let's say Kaiser used to pride itself on everything was connected, and now this stuff's subcontracted out, and it takes forever to get in and see somebody. Yeah. They're still like, no, I got to stay with Kaiser. I can't leave, or I can't leave what I know. And in healthcare, we can see that people are really, really reluctant to leave. In some cases, what's a bad system, even though our benefits for our members are great, they're excellent, they're top notch. The access to care in the entire healthcare industry is making people feel like their benefits aren't that great.
Right, correct. And one of the things when you look at taking and extracting the good out of the different systems, Kaiser did, they took a risk, right? They rolled the dice, and years ago they said, hey, we're going to vertically integrate. We're going to keep everything under one umbrella. What was the common goal there is you can go from primary care to x-ray to radiology to pharmacy to PT, whatever it is, and it's all under one roof. In essence, what we're looking at doing here, based on your vision, is how do we find the services that we need the most, and how do we put them under one patient-centered medical home? How do we put that right at the steps of the local where it should be, so that the membership has almost like a concierge medical concept, but an affordable one, because concierge medicine, access to care, prevention, not being reactive, those things deserve to be with the people, with the members, and that's what we're trying to do, is flip the script.
And in the long run, they actually save money because you get ahead of everything.
I mean, yeah.
Instead of it being doing everything through urgent care once you're sick, you're doing things ahead of it, and you're being proactive to catch.
That's right.
My vision is in the Inland Empire in 5 or 7 or 10 years, hopefully sooner rather than later, because you know how I like to agitate things that happen now, is that there are multiple pods that people can go into throughout the Inland Empire in every city that's really close to them. So maybe they can go into City Hall in Fontana, and there's a small room they go in, and it does this quick evaluation of them. And then it says, oh, there's this issue and that issue. There's an available appointment at 4 o'clock today, or tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. at the clinic that's literally right down the street, or maybe, the next city over. And then they go and they get connected, and then all of a sudden you're finding something on the front end because it's super, super convenient to them. They have access to it. It's easy for them to connect to the service.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's building a better mousetrap. I mean, that's what you and I talked about. The power is with the people. The currency in healthcare is the lives. That is one of the greatest powers that the union and the Teamsters has. We can create this infrastructure because we have the lives and we have the people. So when you talk about, might sound Star Trek to some, but with that ecosystem of having it at every single employer site, whether that's the county or you organize Amazon up in Victorville, having these pods or these convenience access points all can drive the ability to give better care. When you have the members live up the hill or in Needles, and we're organizing in Needles, Needles has no hospital right now. They have to go down the hill or somewhere
Yeah, their
else.
access to care is 150 miles away.
That's something that the Teamsters and your local can address and help for providing some infrastructure of care. So this is the vision of being able to start here, right next door, build something special, build something that has access. The cost savings are going to be tremendous because when you just cut down ER and urgent care visits, some people literally go to ER when it's just a common thing that could be done at the PCP. But they
Oh,
just
I got
don't
a
have
I got a
access.
personal story. Like I was, many people know, but over a year ago I ran into pretty serious health issues, and after that I ran into something else that was somewhat connected, and I kept going to urgent care, and I went like 3 or 4 times, and finally I went to had to go to the emergency room.
Yeah.
I couldn't get in to see my doctor for too long of a time.
Tell them who you were.
I actually don't do that. I don't throw weight around like that. I try not to in the system. And I went to the emergency room, and the emergency room doctor, who was very, very good, who was excellent, ended up explaining to me, "Oh yeah, your problem is you kept going to the urgent care doctor." And I'm like, so him and I were chatting about the cycle in the situation, and he was like, "Yeah," he's like, "the system's upside down right now." He's like, "It is crazy that I'm having to deal with things like this at the emergency room, when it would save everybody a ton of money if the system flips itself and makes sure the access happens on the front end."
Yeah, and you just look at what's going on in the news and in healthcare. I mean, whether it's the new administration that's coming in and they're talking about cutting out the middlemen, or you hear about UHCs, it's horrible that somebody lost their life, but the undertone of the situation of, the people are pissed. People want better care. They want better access. And the nice thing about, or the great thing about what you're doing is that you're saying the time is now. And you and I both know this is 6 years in the making. But the reality is you're bringing something like this. It's not an easy fix.
Yeah,
this is a shift change.
I think that is a good example of how hard it is to change the system.
Right.
Because we are now on the cusp of that final step, which is us having our own clinics.
Yeah.
We had to do all the other stuff for us to have the resources to do what we're talking about right now. And it wasn't like just flipping a switch and, it takes too long, which is typically what kind of turns everybody away from tackling it, right? Is how long. So you get kind of stuck in the same system, and you go through, it's like the mouse on the wheel not making any ground.
Right.
But we've been determined. We've clearly busted through a lot of those barriers. A lot of it had to do with understanding the system, kind of understanding who all the middle people were, understanding the ways to capitalize on that in a way to build a better system. And now we're making that next transition, literally right now.
I've always told you, this is a movement. This is a movement that is, so important because so many people are looking for better health care. It's an emotional thing, as you kind of mentioned, right? I mean, that's why people will keep going to the status quo, going to the same doctor, expecting different results.
I'm just as guilty of it.
Yeah,
as
right?
much
We all
as I know about this stuff, I'm just as guilty of it.
And you've made it a point, like, Mike, come over here and let's put our stake in the ground and let's say, let's create this movement, and hope it goes to your next guest and to, it goes national, because this is a great organizing tool. This is giving the power back to the union member of being able to have the best healthcare offering, because we're taking back control. And I think that is so important for all the members to know that they have a voice, that we understand that healthcare is extremely valuable. It's one of the main reasons why I think they come to join the Teamsters and join the union is to be able to have a voice with the employers and to make sure they get their family taken care of. There's nothing more important, and I always say, you're healthy, you're wealthy, right? And if we don't have control over our own records, if we don't have control over our own health care and being able to go to somewhere where we know we're going to get the best care, it's really not a good thing, and that's what I admire so much, Randy. Honestly, that you are leading this movement, and I commend you. I've been there every step of the way, but I really want to help you execute that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Anything you want to share with our listeners? First of all, again, thank you for all the work you did with us with the testing during COVID, all the challenges that we faced and the partnerships that we've done over the years to, helping me connect to individuals that helped me learn the system better.
Yeah.
was helpful, so I really appreciate the work that you did in that space, because it made it to where when I was bargaining on behalf of the members, I had a stronger foothold into my knowledge when it comes to how the system works, and obviously my continued challenge for the employers to do better because they can. Quite frankly, a lot of this would be easier if the employers were I guess more receptive and more engaged. The good thing is if you have a union, you can force the discussion, right? Which is what we did, because clearly a lot of the employers were like, oh, I don't know, we don't want to do that. We just want to pay Kaiser and Blue Shield to take care of it. The reality is by leaving it up to the very providers that are taking advantage of the system, you're walking away from better service. You're allowing them to have control of the outcome. And people may be able to choose their doctors within the network, but you're seeing doctors in droves leave those systems right now.
Yeah.
They're leaving. They're like, no, we're done with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you asked, what I want to tell the membership is, exciting times are ahead, right? There is so much work that's been put in by this man and by his team and Annabelle, and really there is going to be some of the best access to care and some things. But the other thing I'd say is the surveys that are still out there or that will come out, please let your voice be heard so that we can kind of aggregate that information and we can put the best health and wellness offering that the Teamsters Local 1932 can put there. And I think you're going to be very happy and excited about what this brings to you and your families.
Yeah, our commitment to healthcare in trying to bring down costs, number one. Number two, trying to provide better healthcare is I believe it's unmatched. I'm sure there's people that are just as passionate about it as us. It's just, man, boy, did I find that these are difficult layers to peel back on an onion. Mm-hmm. And what's cool is we've been able to peel back some of those kind of beginning things to where now have the resources and the ability to take those next steps. So for all you listeners, stay tuned over the next few months as these next steps unfold. We obviously have to go through a lot of technical things internally. We have to make sure we process it correctly, make sure we vet these things in the right way. And ultimately, members are going to have the choice to keep the same system that they're not happy with for a while. Sure. and try something new, but participate in these surveys, participate in the stuff that we're going to be doing in the next 6 months, because that's really going to shape how we build this out in the next few years. And so, a lot of this comes from the demand from the members to try to have a better system. We're kind of in a lot of ways doing the impossible, but I've always been, tell me something's impossible. That sounds like a challenge for me to take on, and we'll build a team to get after it.
That's it.
And so this is a reminder that, on KCAA, you can download the app. If you download the app, you can actually listen live as anything that's happening live on KCAA. You can listen to our show, and don't forget, this is Randy Corrigan and the Worker Power Hour, KCAA, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM. The Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network, live from San Bernardino. Mike Ochoa, thank you very much for coming on at this first half of our program.
You're welcome.
We have some more guests on the other side of the hour. I got a little bit of news to report on, something I'm going to have a little bit of fun on. Mark, see you on the other side of the mandatory break.
Fire!
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda, sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932, protecting the future of working families. Teamsters1932.org.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Taylor. The Dow Jones fell over 1,000 points today. More from Kristen Marks.
At the closing bell, the Dow lost 1,123 points. The S&P 500 lost 178 points, and the Nasdaq fell over 3.5%, dropping 716 points. The Federal Reserve cut interest rates by 1/4 point today, but investors turned sour when they learned the Fed would likely cut rates only twice next year.
Luigi Mangione is waiving extradition. Reports say he could be transferred from Pennsylvania and be back in New York City by tomorrow. He's facing murder and terrorism charges in the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. The 26-year-old faces life in prison if convicted. The state of Florida is filing new charges against President-elect Trump's second would-be assassin. Ryan Ruth is facing new attempted murder charges tied to his attempt to flee from Trump's golf course after he was discovered by the Secret Service lying in wait. Lisa Taylor, NBC News Radio.
Are you looking for a good union job? The Inland Empire's 14,000 member strong Teamsters Local 1932 has opened a training center to get working people trained and placed in open positions in public service clerical work and in jobs in the logistics industry. This is a new opportunity to advance your career and raise standards across the region. Visit 1932trainingcenter.org to enroll today. That's 1932trainingcenter.org.
Be responsible. Don't drink and drive. Choose a designated driver. Our sponsor, MVP Rooter, is family-owned, serving the San Diego and Riverside areas with quality and pride for all your plumbing and drain needs. Whether it's residential or commercial, call the pros at 951-900-8687 for Riverside or 619-638-8687 for San Diego. To learn more, visit MVPRooter.com. MVP Rooter, a BBB accredited company reminding us to never drink and drive.
Hey there, it's James Worthy, and I'm here to talk about something that's making waves in the world of recovery, IceBod Active. Whether you're a pickleballer, tennis pro, soccer fanatic, basketball champ, or a runner, IceBod Active is your ticket to quicker recovery and peak performance. Picture this, form-fitting cryo compression wear that not only supports your muscles, but makes you look good while you're doing it. IceBod Active is the ultimate fusion of style and functionality. And here's the best part. IceBod Active comes equipped with pockets that fit flexible ice cold gel packs that conform to your body's contours, providing targeted relief right where you need it most. So whether you're a hard-working laborer or a dedicated athlete, IceBod Active lets you ice and go. Don't let sore muscles hold you back. Go to icebodactive.com today and experience the future of recovery. They have free shipping and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to icebodactive.com.
In these times, sometimes you have to take away the stress or dress to impress. Lux Transportation has just the ticket for you and your needs to relax, kick your feet up in style, and make some new fun memories. Looking for a hassle-free, comfortable ride? Experience the ultimate in luxury. Transportation in a sleek, luxurious black-on-black SUV. Private discreet rides, airport runs, sightseeing, proms, weddings, and romantic date nights are all ahead in your future with Lux Transportation. Karaoke, disability-friendly, and no problem, we're also senior citizen-friendly too. Call or text Mr. Hollins to take away the stress at 951-399-5425. That's 951-399-5425. Lux Transportation, when you need the absolute best.
Welcome to the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corrigan, a brand new show about labor and worker issues. The host of the show is Randy Corrigan, Secretary, Treasurer, and Principal Office and leader of Teamsters 1932, one of the largest public sector labor unions on the West Coast, representing workers in government and non-sworn law enforcement personnel. Randy Corrigan is a 30-year Teamster who first became involved in the labor movement by volunteering his time as an organizer with the Teamsters Union at the age of 21. Since then, he's helped thousands organize, mobilize, and achieve bargaining rights. He accomplished this by spending countless hours with brave men and women all over Southern California, in their living rooms, on the picket line, to bring workers towards victory. This is the Worker Power Hour. And now here's the host of the show, Randy Corrigan.
You know Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen. Comet and
Randy Corrigan in the Worker Power Hour, KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM. All right, Mark. Is that the same one you did at the top of the hour? The first one?
You know it's Christmas, right?
I know. We got to be careful not to be Scrooge, right?
If you don't want coal, baby, if you don't want no coal.
What's that?
I'm supposed to be here and lead off the
Yes, you are. You're good, Eric. You're good. As I said, this is Randy Corrigan in the Worker Power Hour, KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM. This is the Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network, live from San Bernardino. I have a guest on, the Secretary-Treasurer, Principal Officer of Teamsters 952 in Orange County. I'm going to get to Eric in a few minutes. Eric and I have obviously been friends for a very long time, and I'm really happy to have him on the show. But I do want to talk about some news. I'm actually going to talk about one item in the news. I actually have a lot of stuff in the news to talk about, but I only want to really talk about one. And that one item is that Amazon workers all over the country have been authorizing a strike in their particular units, and it started in New York, it went into Chicago, also went in Georgia, all throughout Southern California. There are more than 20 locations, actually 24 locations that Amazon is currently obligated to bargain, 24 units that Amazon is obligated to bargain. And Amazon has refused to come to the table, including the first one that established a bargaining right, which was JFK 8. ALU affiliated with the Teamsters in June of this year to form ALU IBT Local 1. That bargaining unit is now a Teamster bargaining unit. Yes, those workers voted in favor of choosing to have a union represent them. Amazon has ignored that obligation to bargain for 2.5 years now. Those workers at JFK 8 have authorized to strike. They did on Monday, as did a number of other locations across the country. And so what you're hearing now and seeing on the news, and I myself have been interviewed by almost every media outlet there is. My phone is blowing up because everybody wants quotes from us on what this potential labor dispute is going to bring. And, essentially where we are right now is that workers have authorized to strike and authorized the union to call the strike. And the general president issued a deadline of December 15th that Amazon has ignored. Again, we anticipated that they would ignore it, just like they've ignored everything else because they believe that they're so big that it's not going to matter. They can do whatever they want. I personally believe no company and no entity is too big to have to deal with worker power. And worker power is clearly the center of our platform. Worker power is the center of what all of these workers are doing at Amazon. And I couldn't be prouder than to be part of a movement of workers. The TikTok video from last Wednesday, where these workers went into KSBD here in San Bernardino and established that a majority of the workers at their facility had said, we want to be union, we want a contract, and we want you to sit down and bargain. Amazon, clearly, if you saw the video, Amazon literally ran away from the workers. They went into their offices. More than 10 million people have viewed that TikTok video. That doesn't count for the millions of others that have viewed all the other social media. I'm telling you, workers are watching this. Workers are paying attention to this. And I just want to shift real quickly at what Amazon is doing. Regardless of what they say, they put out a statement that said that we're coercing and intimidating people and breaking the law. Look, if we were coercing and intimidating people, I don't think people would be signing authorization cards or applications to become Teamsters and to participate in an organization if we were doing the things that Amazon was accusing. And quite frankly, should we believe Amazon? Because Amazon is before before the court taking a position that the NLRB is unconstitutional, and they're spending all this money doing all these things, fighting what the workers are doing versus investing in changing a such system where workers are underpaid, where their working conditions are terrible, and where more and more thousands of workers are rising up and taking a position to do something different. And that brings me to this point. You could kill the news music. Really appreciate the background, Mark. Isn't Mark doing a great job, Eric?
Great effects.
Great effects. And one of the tactics that Amazon uses is that they hire union busters. And so there are these union busters that they have in all these facilities. Amazon has spent tens of millions of dollars out there essentially paying consultants and paying union busters to come into these facilities and talk to everybody and try to convince them that they shouldn't have a union. And so there's an entire industry. It's $1 billion industry when it comes to what union busters do and what these consultants do. And one of the things that gets lost in what Amazon is doing is logic versus emotion. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down very quickly what a union buster does. They go into a facility, and when workers are organizing, they try to explain to workers why they shouldn't organize. They explain to them, and they really emphasize you're going to pay dues, and this is what the union does with the money, and this and that. And they obviously don't shed any positive light on what the process is, even though, you know, if you look at a comparable company, UPS, that delivers packages, where workers are making more than twice of what workers at Amazon are making, and obviously have a retirement vehicle and have great health care benefits and retirement medical and have great working conditions and have all these things in their contract. Maybe as Teamsters, we argue about what we like or dislike about the things in the contract, but it clearly is far superior to what an Amazon worker has. And what Amazon does is they pay these consultants to drive emotion, and there's a psychology of a union buster that agitates people and creates this pressure where individuals feel like, you know, oh, I gotta get away from this union thing because it's what it is it's bad somehow, and somehow these union busters are they try to feed on that emotion. There's a psychology to it, and you could get a glimpse into it if you actually look up, just Google it or whatever you want to do with it. I think there's other terms other than Google. It says that I'm an old guy, right? When I say Google, I talk to the young guy over here. Confessions of a Union Buster by Marty Levitt, and ironically, you know where you can find it is on Amazon. So the funny thing is that you can actually listen and hear what the psychology is behind a union buster. It's there to see. And what they want to do is they want to tap into emotion versus logic. So let me break down some things that are logical that should, if anybody is organizing, that they should be able to separate. Because one of the first things a union buster does, they talk about union bylaws. Oh, the union bylaws are all these rules that you got to work by. Well, I always tell my committees, and one of the things, if you're a committee inside of one of these Amazon facilities and you're listening to me right now, is ask your company for their bylaws. The funny thing is the union bylaws are accessible. Everybody can access them online. You can actually find them. They're relatively easy to find. But tell me if you've ever found company bylaws, because the companies are required to have bylaws as well. And so why don't you make sure that once you get the union bylaws, then you get the company bylaws, and then you just kind of have a logical discussion over the difference between the two, because your company is required to have some bylaws and operating bylaws for their organization. And you'll find that you won't be able to get the operating bylaws of the company. You'll find that'll not even exist. Matter of fact, everybody will be dancing around and they won't know what to say. The point is that the company and those union busters don't want to use any logic. They want to use emotion. And those consultants, now, one of the other things that workers can ask these consultants, remember they're professionals paid by the company, right? They're professionals paid by the company. If I'm a committee person in there, I'm going to ask those professionals, you're professional paid by the company, right? And the consultant's going to say, yes, I'm here to explain labor relations. Well, can us as workers have some professionals too on our behalf? It's logical. It's that simple. They're spending millions of dollars on their professionals and their consultants. What do you care if I have one too? Oh, that's right. The company should have their professionals, their consultants, and their attorneys, but I shouldn't have one as an employee. So let's break down logic. The union busters don't want things to be logical. Let's take this into let's separate it from the union issue. And if an employer is so worried about how you spend your money on union dues, if that's their reason, because we're concerned about you and we want you to have all the facts. If you're going to buy a home, if most of these people that work in a particular facility are buying homes, does the company spend millions of dollars on professionals to come in to explain to you how to stay away from predatory lenders, to stay away from predatory insurance companies, to make sure that you don't make a mistake when you buy a home? Now, you buy it, or if you're to buy versus rent, what the differences are depending on the market, your economic situation, and the circumstances. They don't spend millions of dollars to help educate you on what is the single largest issue, economic demand in your home, which is typically how you provide for your residents, whether it's rent, mortgage, or anything that you may be doing for the roof over your head. They don't do that. And so, again, logic wins this argument every single time. But the union busters, they don't want logic. What they want is they want emotion. They want to play on emotion. And so this next part of the show that I'm going to shift into real quickly here is I got to laugh at this situation regarding something that's happening literally right down the street as we speak. This union buster, and I'm going to read it, there's a text string among all these committee members that are at KSBD. And this is something that they shared with one another. And again, no names here. Purposely, I don't want names because I don't want any union buster that's playing here to have the satisfaction of us mentioning a name. Because quite frankly, I think it's absolutely hilarious. So this worker said, today, me and my coworker, and this is I'm reading a live text, not a live text, a text from an actual text string of committee workers. Today, me and my coworker, along with 3 other coworkers, had an hour-long conversation with an individual, an Amazon employee relations person, and a person who is an ex-Teamster who worked for a company in the area for 30 years. And that individual must be new to the job because he made the big mistake of letting us know that he does in fact draw a Teamster pension and will be receiving more than $5,000 a month for the rest of his life. But his words were, now you know that's not enough to live on. The response, I can't actually say live on the air, I'll get dumped, is that man is a blank, blank, blank clown. And then you telling somebody else replying that he's getting $5,000 a month and we're over here making less than that, says a lot about Amazon if he feels that enough to live on. And then it goes on and it goes on and it goes on. My point to this is first of all, how can somebody who's drawn a Teamster pension sit there and say something like that? It's like, that is how ignorant you have to be to say, I'm drawing something of this size. Yes, absolutely. I'm drawing a Teamster pension for the rest of my life, and it's actually more than the workers make at the very same facility. That is unbelievable that something like that would be said.
A better word would be shameful.
Shameful, yeah. Robert, Robert was saying something over here, so I want to throw him on the mic real quick. Make sure you turn your mic on. I want to play off this real quick. I know, Eric, you probably got a lot to say too. I'll let you get into your time of the hour in a minute. But Robert, what do you have to say about this?
Yeah, well, first I think it's a major, for me personally, it's a major moral issue, right? I don't know how you can go from an ex-Teamster to receiving a pension and then being a union buster?
Well, clearly it's only about money.
Well, right, but I think it's a huge moral issue, and I'll be short because I know there's a other portion we want to get to, but I think it's a huge moral issue, one, and two, it's like these workers are just trying to get a little bit of what that ex-Teamster has, and they're working towards and fighting towards a union contract that has better paying wages, better working conditions, and a pension.
The way I understand it is these workers were dumbfounded that someone would say something like that.
Right.
That just goes to show you how clueless Amazon is. So now they're spending this kind of money on people. They're spending millions of dollars to try to tap into people's emotion and get them upset, or for whatever reason to drive them away, because Amazon doesn't want to be obligated to actually pay a retirement plan like that.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
Like
They have the money to do so, though.
Do they? Do they really? I mean, maybe they say that they don't. I mean,
Right.
I believe they do. We've obviously looked at how much money this big corporation
Right.
makes. But Robert, you being, so young and new to the organization, how does it make you feel when you see something like that?
I mean, personally, I just feel it's disgusting to me. Like there's two things going on.
But it's
here
almost
where-
laughable too, right?
It's laughable too, but it's the seriousness of it as well as to the workers that are the seriousness of it to the workers of like they're noticing that what is possible for them, and then also at this point he's just taking advantage.
That's the underline, right? It's like the irony in is there's this person, by the way, who's 53 years old, who's 53 years old and getting that retirement plan. A Teamster plan is now trying to encourage people.
Right.
No.
Right.
like, do you hear yourself? Mark, what do you had a lot to say about this morning.
I'm dumbfounded. I can't even put that into words. Like, how does he go to sleep at night? Like, all those years as a Teamster, now I'm going to be a union buster? What the dump button? I think I just dumped myself.
What I think is great is I hope he drove right by the billboard that had the radio show on it as he's going over to that facility, because these workers are laughing at him. They're laughing. And that's what happens is these union busters don't realize that they become a joke, that they actually become a joke.
Right.
Anything else you want to say, Robert, on this before we transition to something else?
Yeah.
How about you, Mark?
I know I'm not turning down $5,000 a month no matter what. Like, really? That's $60,000 a year
to be retired.
And bitch about it? I got it. Write it off. Just don't take it anymore. Don't take the
That's
check.
right. Give it back to everybody.
Give it back to us, and that way our pension fund
You know
will be
what?
stronger.
Donate it back to the workers, a solidarity fund at Amazon.
Yeah. Yeah, to close off, I think, the union busters obviously get paid a lot of money. So that $5,000 is only what we're seeing, right? The bare minimum that he's receiving. He's probably getting an extra 10 on top of that.
Oh, by the way, it gets retiree medical too.
Right. So it's ironic.
I love it. I love the fact that what really is great is that these workers picked up on it immediately. Like immediately. Like that did not slip by workers who were fighting like they are for a company like Amazon, or with a company like Amazon, to just get a sliver of it. And so, look, the amount of money that companies and corporations spend on union busting and what they call union avoidance consultants and lawyers is staggering and mind-boggling. And quite frankly, why does it matter where a worker spends their money? Clearly, they don't care what bank you go to. They don't care where you buy your house. They don't care, what your insurance companies are. They don't care where you buy your groceries. Like, they don't care where you spend all of your money until it's a small amount of money that has to go in dues. Now, all of a sudden, we care about your paycheck. All of a sudden, the employer cares about it. And it's because the psychology to union busting is all about tapping into emotion and getting workers to feel frustrated and pressured to a degree that if I just say no to the process, then the pressure goes away. I'm telling you, like, look up the Confessions of a Union Buster. They'll explain all, Marty Levitt explains all of the tricks of the trade, and it's super, super, super ironic. Unfortunately, I don't have the screen in front of me. Is there something on there? Anyway, we'll get into it in a minute. So with that, thanks, Robert. Appreciate you jumping in here. Anything else you want to say on that, Mark?
It's actually, we're having a good laugh with it, but it's really actually pretty sad that someone's heart, after all that time, and he was an organizer, and I'm reading a comment from Slack right now. He was an organizer. He did this for a living.
Ironically, I got some I think I got a video clip of him encouraging workers at Amazon to organize. You know that? Imagine that being played in a meeting while, no, you guys shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that.
They just posted a picture in Webster's dictionary right by hypocrite.
Yeah.
There it is.
Pretty much. So that's kind of the point. The reason why I'm bringing it up as news is this is what workers face every day. And so, I think it's a great transition into our next guest, which is Eric Jimenez, the Principal Officer, Secretary Treasurer of Teamsters Local 952 in Orange County. Eric, you and I have worked together, obviously, for a very long time. And really appreciate the partnership and the relationship that we have, and appreciate you coming on the show. You want to introduce yourself and kind of talk about how your local union and all the great things that you guys are doing, because you guys are doing phenomenal work.
Yeah, I first off, thank you to 1932 for having me on your radio show. I appreciate the invitation as always. Yes, as Randy said, I'm Eric Jimenez, Secretary Treasurer and Principal Officer of Teamsters Local 952. I have known Randy actually even before I became an officer of the union. I was actually, I've been to a couple of his classes as a youngster. I started at UPS in 2000. I came from a union family. My dad was a steel worker, president of his local, raised my mom, my 5 brothers, and me off of a union wage. He's living life right now with a pension. But again, so when I stepped into UPS, I had been bit by the union bug already. And as I raced through the ranks, I got to know Randy. I got to know a lot of the other people out throughout the Teamsters, and it's been a great journey for me. It's really, really been a great journey for me. I now oversee Orange County and vicinity. I love saying the vicinity.
Yeah, we love kidding 952 about vicinity.
Vicinity. I don't know when that was put into our charter, but it was. So
we actually know it was in like 94, 95 ish.
But
it was actually a big political debate, believe it or not. Yeah.
We do like to throw that in there, but it's been an honor to represent Teamster members. Coming from the rank and file, I was at UPS for 20 plus years. Became a shop steward. Was a shop steward for about 12 years. Part-timer, full-timer. I volunteered a lot of my personal time to help out the Teamsters Union, whether it was taking classes with you or just, helping out the international on, I guess you would say, they would they would take me out of work and actually help me do drive, or they would actually help me try to organize. But it's been a great run. There's nothing better than representing workers, I'll tell you that much right now. And I won't touch too much on what you guys were talking about at just a couple of minutes ago, but it's a shame to see somebody wear the Teamster patch for so long. And I don't think there's just one. There's plenty of them out there that have worn our Teamster patch, and
it's, try to jump like that.
It is. It's
and they don't last long, which is funny.
Yeah, it's the lowest of the low. You know what I mean? I get it. Sometimes we have our beefs with the organization, but you handle those a different way. You can't one day say, hey, the Teamsters are the greatest thing in the world. They provide great contracts. They provide great representation. They bring people out of poverty. They provide people with medical. They saved my daughter's life because I had medical. They saved my mortgage because I was able to get a good raise. They saved my job because a manager wanted to be,
overbearing
and pick on me. And guess what? They protected me, and I didn't have to worry about losing my job. To the next day waking up and saying, hey, the Teamsters are the worst thing in the world. You know what I mean? I like to say, the proof's in the pudding. Our members see what we do on a daily basis. They see what we do every day, and they'll see through all those lies and all that gray, muddy water. But it's just a shame. But like I said, it's at 952, we oversee Orange County, a lot of things. We're a general local. We have grocery, Albertsons. We have beverage, Budweiser, Pepsi, Coca-Cola. We have transportation, bus transportation. We have aerospace. We have UPS. We have right around 9,000, hover around 9,000 members. So, like I said, good times. I'm loving life.
Yeah, you got a local union, very diverse, very eclectic in the industries it represents. Like you said, you got bus drivers with OCTA. You got some bus drivers that are private sector too. Obviously, you got UPS. You got a little bit of freight. I've been working with 952 in one capacity or another for my entire career since like 92, 93.
Yeah.
And, it's got a history, got a good history, long history of a local union, a lot of activism, and obviously, you're obviously steering the ship now to agitate that and move that to a higher level. and really appreciate that. It's really good to see the drive to try to push the rank and file engagement. I remember back when we were working on things when you were a rank and filer, and that's what it was all about.
Yeah.
It was like, what are the programs in the platforms that we can create and participate in to help benefit our organization? Because you were back then, you were donating your time, right? Yeah, you were just chipping in
to the point to where my wife used to say, "Well, we're not going to be able to pay bills." But I cracked a joke the other day. I wanted to hang out with the Teamsters more than anything, to where sometimes I'd call in sick to work just to make sure I got to a rally.
Yes,
and when my
yes,
wife would say,
yes.
"Well, hey, it looks like you're short on your paycheck," I'd have to tell her the truth and say, "Well, I went to go hang out with the Teamsters because we had something that needed
somebody's
to be done."
fight. We wanted to jump into someone's fight and help them out.
That's the love I have for the organization. It's something that runs through your blood. It's not a job. It's loyalty. It's like I said, a passion that runs in your blood.
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is automation. You're having to obviously deal with automation at one of your facilities, one of your food distribution center facilities.
Correct.
In Orange County. And, the onset of automation in America right now is something that is this pretty incredible challenge.
Yeah.
And, what's it like? What's it like for you to have to deal with that firsthand?
I mean, I said it in a video that we put out recently, and automation, technology, AI, it's in front of our face. I would love to say as a Teamster leader that no, we will not work if that comes into our buildings. We will shut down the country. The fact is, automation has been in the workforce since the automotive industry.
Yeah, and it's slowly, even in the grocery industry, it worked itself in, like with some of the RF systems that manage inventory.
Yeah.
It's not a robot moving things around, but the digital part of it is automatically.
Well, look at UPS. I came out of the UPS industry.
Another good example.
Luckily, I wasn't that old at the time, but some of our older drivers, they remember writing down the numbers on paper. You had to write down the tracking number on a piece of paper to prove that you delivered it. We didn't have Google Maps. We had something called a Thomas
Guide,
which most people probably don't know what a Thomas Guide is anymore.
Hey, where's Robert? He ran away. I want to know if he knows what a Thomas Guide is. It's not a train.
It was actually a book that I used to have to. It was a graph, and I used to be Monroe.
You had one for each county.
Yeah, Monroe Street is on C4. And that's where it was at.
What sucks about that is we had a visual representation of the city or all the cities. Because we were always looking at the Thomas Guide.
You knew where the south started, where the north started, where the east and the west.
You knew where everything was. You knew the blocks. You may not have known every street, but you understood the numbers.
Yeah.
In other words, how far away you were from something.
Believe this. Believe it or not.
Now we blindly follow an electronic device.
Believe it or not, some people actually still don't know that each street, the even numbers are on one side. And the odd numbers are on the other side.
That's a good point.
Some people think it goes 439, 442,
442,
48.
No, it's always going to be odd and even.
I'm like, no, it's and some people don't know that. But go back to technology. When I first started at UPS, I used to have to write. As I loaded my truck, I would write a sequence number that I took from a chart. I would have to digit. Now things have evolved so much. We have a dyad that tells you, and the dyad is the board that shows the
step
deliveries.
9 feet.
Yeah,
look to your left.
It does do that. It does do. It tells you how quick you're moving. But now it tells you how many packages you have. And now it tells you what your next stop is. It now has a map on it that tells you where to go. So the evolution of technology and AI is tremendous. It's not been like where our mother and father in the 30s, and I can't say exactly when, but in the 30s it was the TVs, and then in the
here's
50s
one
it was
for
the
us.
record player. Our stuff is moving so quick.
Here's one for technology. It's a good marker for us in the Teamsters that we forget is the transition from horse to power vehicles.
Yeah.
The transition, and then the transition from power vehicles to trucks.
Yeah,
and those transitions were equally as challenging when it comes to
no doubt
what we're talking about.
And I think over the years technology, automation, and AI hadn't moved as quick as what we see. And now in our generation, every year it seems that things are getting better and better in terms of technology and AI. And it's affecting our members. It's something that's it's going to be a fight for a long time when it comes to the Teamsters and us protecting our members in terms of how automation is fought, how we put restraints around automation.
The limitations.
The limitations.
The limitations, yeah.
Yeah, how we put it around AI and how we make sure that our members are least impacted as possible, and at some point making sure our members are doing those jobs. And that's what we had happen at Albertsons recently.
And also making sure that the members have input into what that looks like.
Yes.
Because, you know, and ongoing input.
Correct.
Because I always find it funny, I don't know if you do, that I hear these industry experts that step in sometimes and, you know, maybe they went to college and they did this and they did that, but if anybody's an industry expert in the transportation industry, it's been us. It's been the Teamsters,
Yeah.
right? We can usually put together a team of people that understand something in the industry far better than any employer tries to put together.
Correct.
I mean, how many times have we sat in a meeting when an employer comes in and says, "Oh, I got this idea and that idea," and all of a sudden, by the time we're done with the meeting, they're like, "Yeah, we didn't think about those 27 things."
Yeah. You know, usually it's somebody that's never done the job, somebody that came out of college, and I don't knock college at all, but, you know,
Of course
somebody
not,
that,
yeah.
you know, somebody that never did the job, and it's
And
like,
college can't knock those that are working hard in a warehouse.
Who better to know how to run the operation than the people that run it? And that's our Teamster brothers and sisters that are on the floor every day, running the operation, running the machine, making sure that the trucks are loaded, the shelves are stocked, the packages are delivered, the sodas going. Why wouldn't you get our input on how to run your company? And that's the sad part. Sometimes they think that giving that ability to our workers is taking power away from them. And it's like, no, we can commingle with each other, and we could probably make you a hell of a lot more money, because right now you're jumping over $1 to pick up a penny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what's incredible is that it's been proven over and over again that union workers are far more productive than non-union workers.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for it is that they have a process for input, that they literally have the ability to negotiate the conditions. They have the ability to have input into how the conditions affect them.
Yeah.
And therefore, that's because every employee, I wouldn't say every, but most employees, 90% of them want their employer to be productive. Where it's always interesting, the pushback happens is what that input is and who's receiving it on the employer side, and whether or not they're willing to give it some value.
Correct. Well, I mean, as Teamsters, we want the companies to be productive.
That's right.
I mean, at the end
We
of
want
the
them
day,
to be super
at the end of the day,
productive.
if UPS is making billions of dollars like they do, or Amazon is making trillions of dollars like they do, that's more money that you can pass to the people that helped you get that. I don't want to see a company go down the drain, because at the end of the day, that's my members that are going to be affected by that. Lose health care, lose a paycheck, wonder if they're ever going to get another job with union benefits. If we can make a company productive as possible and make them billionaires, so be it. Let's do this. But we're also going to ask for a chunk of that pie back.
Make sure that everybody's got a piece of the pie. You gotta get a little piece
You know
of the
what I
action.
mean? You know, and it's just talking about. I know you guys were talking about Amazon. I won't get too much into that either.
You can.
but,
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, I was thinking about it the other day, and Jeff Bezos. I look at Jeff Bezos, and I was thinking about it the other day. This guy is the richest man we've ever seen. And if I'm not mistaken, I had heard a comment that he may be the first trillionaire in history. And I'm thinking in my head, you can go down as the most anti-union, worker-friendly person in the world, and die with all that money. Because trust me, once you die, that money ain't coming with you. That money, and if you
they can freeze your head all you want.
you ain't taking that money with you, or you can do the right thing and go down as one of the greatest men that America's ever produced. He treated his workers right. He let them unionize. He gave them health care. He gave them fair, decent wages. They were able to provide homes for their children. They were able to buy the products that you sell. And do you know what the country would look at you like? People would applaud you as you're a hero. You're a trillionaire.
I'm convinced. Let's get Bezos on the line.
You know what I mean? And I
come
think,
on here and negotiate a contract.
I look at this guy and I'm like, man, what stops you from going that route?
But it also shows you're 100% correct. Like, it shows that corporate America's attitude has shifted, because it used to be a time when they prided themselves in what you just said, is that there was a race to be the best at providing better jobs for everybody.
Yeah.
And come to work for me. If you come to work for me, you're going to retire at a decent age. You're going to have this. You're going to be able to buy a home. You're going to be able to sustain your family. Here are all the things you're going to be able to do.
Yeah.
But in the, I guess in the rat race to chase another buck, they've turned themselves into what we see right now, where you don't even recognize who these people are.
Yeah, and you know, you're right, Randy, because, I mean, just taking retirees from our local, I mean, like you said, we're a general local, so we have Freight, Coca-Cola. We are starting to see the end of our retirees where they've stood at Coke for 35 plus years, Freight for 40 plus years, UPS. Majority of the younger generation is on a yearly basis hopping from job to job to job, trying to find that right job to take care of their family or to start a life out. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that you treat your workers right, they're going to stay with you. They're going to be loyal. They're going to stay. Like some of these guys that you don't see much, and we should be taking a page out of their lives, that have stood with companies because they were a union company. They were provided health care, they were provided a pension, they were provided great wages, they were provided the dignity to walk into an employer without being scared and huddling and, oh, I hope the supervisor doesn't see me. They lived that life, and look at what it's done for them. And we're slowly, but like you said, we're in a rat race with the younger generation to try to find that one decent job. And it's like, well, there are plenty of jobs out there. You just need to make them decent. Stop jumping around from job to job
Correct.
to job.
Instead of jumping around, organize that company.
Make your job decent.
That's right. Get a union contract. Get a Teamster contract. It's funny because, like, the fight for, like, retiree medical, the fight for affordable health care, there was a couple decades where it seemed like corporate America had kind of won over the social fabric at making people feel bad for that fight. And, you know, I'm always scratching my head going, that's worth going to the street for.
Oh, yeah.
Like I had a couple weeks ago some individuals from Kaiser that were on strike. And one of the big issues that they were on strike for was their retiree component on top of their retiree medical, more specifically their defined benefit, and that they wanted to get their defined benefit back. And I said that fight, man, we should all agree with that, right? Yeah. Every worker in America should be like, I'm good with that fight. If more companies and more people were in a defined benefit, then it would be less burdensome than those that are in it. And it makes the system easier. But corporate America has been able to convince everybody, oh, you don't need that. You need a 401k. Well, you can manage your own money.
We really need to start educating the younger generation and even our current union membership as to what it is to be part of a union. I went through, I'm 43 and I consider myself an old man, but at the end of the day, I was never taught anything other than my father being a part of the union, but school didn't walk you through this stuff. When I got into high school, the narrative out in corporate America was
go to college.
Well, if you work at UPS, or you build a home as a carpenter, or you work with iron as an iron worker, or you deliver soda, or you work with groceries, you're a loser.
That's right. You were a failure.
You're a failure. You are a
That's
failure.
right.
You need to go to college. You need to go to a 4-year degree. You need to get your. Well, guess what? Now I have people that have graduated these 4-year colleges. They're in debt, and my Teamsters are making way more money than they are because they decided to say, no, I'm not a loser. I got to tell people at my meetings all the time, there's always going to be somebody to build a house, pave a road, deliver a package, hump groceries.
Plumber.
It is, yeah, it is.
Right.
There's always going to be somebody to do that. And as long as there is.
Someone's got to wire electricity.
You know what I mean? It's going to happen. And we need to educate our younger generation that
it's okay.
It's okay. Get these union jobs. Organize. Get better wages. Get your health care. And if you decide to go to college, when you get there, make sure you treat your workers good because they'll do a lot more for you. Happy cows make good cheese.
That's right. So one of the things, just so you know, that we're doing here at 1932 is we have a relationship with dozens of school districts in the area. And we actually have an integrated relationship. And I think you heard it at the last meeting in March, we're going to have 1,000 students here. It's going to be basically a field trip of a bunch of the high schools. We're going to be bringing all the kids here for a job fair for them to see all the jobs that they can get at 18 years old. And I couldn't agree with you more. we have to do more pressing of the school boards, the elected officials at the lower level of government, at the city council level, to make sure that that information and that education is landing, so that the familiarity to the message, and so that the first time that they hear about the Teamsters isn't because of what they heard from some union buster at Amazon, right?
Yeah, and you're right.
I need you to get a little closer to that mic.
Okay. You're right. Randy, usually it's the first person to explain the story that gets into the person's head. And I say it's proof in the pudding. I'm not going to sell you my union as a service. Join the Teamsters and you'll see what we do for you.
It's a way of life.
You go talk to a Teamster at UPS, at OCTA, at Albertsons, at Stater Brothers down the street. They will tell you what it is to be part of the team. And if you really want to know what it is to be a team, go ask somebody who has lost their job from UPS and they will tell you, I was never able to find anything better than what I had there. For whatever reason, I may have lost my job.
Or sometimes they leave.
Leave.
I've had people over the years that left and said, "Oh man, I want to get out of here and this and that," and I'm packing up, and taking off. And a couple years later, they're calling back from Texas, going, "Man, I can't find a job. Randy, I'm moving back. Can you help me out? Try to, sometimes when we see these mad exodus happen, especially when people are leaving good union jobs.
Correct.
I'm like, where are you going to go to work at? I don't know. I'll be able to find this. Or now, obviously, if they're retiring and pulling their retirement, what they're doing is dragging that along with them. But at the end of the day, you're 100% correct. Sometimes they don't recognize it as much. Is there anything you want to talk about? Did you want to talk more about what you're doing at Albertsons?
Yeah, you know what? I'll get back into that. I know me and Randy, we kind of started going off the rails, but I mean, we could do this for hours because
it's our show. We can do whatever we want.
It runs in our, the union runs in our blood, so
it's kind of cool.
We can gab about it all day long. But the automation issue that we had at Albertsons is going to touch every Teamster industry, whether we want to believe it or not. Like you said, it's how we put restraints around it, how we put automation in a box. So what was going on at Albertsons Irvine, they have a machine that literally picks the boxes, stacks it complete. I mean, this machine, before it's even started picking a pallet, already computerized how it's going to pick the pallet, what size box it needs to fit perfectly. So
all the cubes have been lined up.
It has the dimensions. So when it starts packing it, it's a perfect, like that game Jenga. It's a perfect Jenga square. You compare that, a automation pallet, to a human pallet, you will see spaces in between the human's pallet. And companies are starting to go that route because it does. I got to say, it is. They say it never is going to get sick. It's never going to break down, which is a bunch of
it's not
BS.
true.
It
does break down.
It does break down, and
you can't just bring another robot in.
You can't. But recently we had Albertsons tell us that automation was coming in, and our Teamsters wouldn't be touching any of those jobs. That was a huge no for us.
Yep.
We told them, hey, we will be touching every single one of those jobs. We will be doing every single one of those engineering jobs. It took a fight. It took a lot of determination from our membership to give us the backup and the teeth to dig into Albertsons. But recently got a contract signed with Albertsons that Teamsters will do every single job. That automation touches, from cutting plastic wrap to making sure the boxes are stacked right, to pressing the buttons to make sure the hands are working.
And this is the power of collective bargaining.
Correct.
This is why I think it's a really, really important subject. Is regardless of if you disagree with this or that, at the most important aspect here is that if it were up to the company wouldn't have any input in that, right? Then the company. So if you work for a non-union company, they're going to dictate and decide who's in charge of this, who's in charge of that, and they're going to make all the rules. They're going to decide what people make. But if you're under a Teamster contract and that's bargaining unit work, guess what? All those pieces have to be bargained.
Correct.
All those aspects have to be bargained. And then the job descriptions have to be bargained, and the job responsibilities and the certifications and the training, and then who's available for
and
it.
even how it goes as far as how the machine will affect our members. So if we do have layoffs, We'll extend the recall rights from 12 months to 36 months. We will say, you know, we have those rights to bargain all those different subjects. Where at a non-union, you go to Aldi, you know, you go to Walmart, hey, we're bringing a machine, nice knowing you, Randy, get out the door.
That's right. And then they'll call you back later and say, hey, man, can you come back because we need some help?
Exactly.
You know, what's my conditions? I don't know. You know, it's
you know,
whimsical.
So it is. It's like I said, it was a big win for us over at Local 952. And
well,
not
congratulations.
Just
That's a great job. Really, really need to recognize you for that great work.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. And but it's not just a win for 952. It's a win for the Teamsters across the country because, again, you know, I always call it story time. I like telling stories, but you know, I remember
it's part of our, that's our job.
Yes,
we have to be story time. So, see, that's why we got a mic in front of us.
Yeah, I remember when I was young and the first Terminator came out with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I don't know if you guys can recall that, but you know, I mean,
I don't know about Robert. Robert don't even, when you say the Terminator, he's like, huh?
Yeah,
is Robert in there?
Yeah. No, he's not in here. He's abandoned me.
Yeah. Oh, he's right there. But you know, I remember as a young kid, I was a little frightened. I was only 4 or 5 years old, and I was frightened. Like, are machines really going to take over the world, and they're going to take over every human aspect? And you know, as I got older, I'm like, yeah, that's never going to happen. Look where we're at now, guys. I mean, automation is doing a large chunk of the work out there, and you know, the bigger picture is how far are we going to let it affect our human workers out there, because at some point these corporations are going to make their big buck, and if they can eliminate every single human from doing a job, that's fine and dandy. But at some point we're going to hit a wall where it's like,
yeah, what do we do?
Unemployment. What are these people doing? And
what do we do?
Another story again. I was walking through automation when it first happened, and the HR representative was there, she was there, and one of the supervisors, and you know, he was kind of giggling about some stuff, and I said, well, what are you planning on doing after automation? He goes, oh, I'm always going to be a supervisor. I said, well, if there ain't no
supervise a machine,
if there ain't no humans in here, who are you planning on supervising? You don't think your job's going to be gone pretty quick? And the HR manager looked at him, she was like, looked at it kind of like, yeah, the guy's right. But that's the reality of what we're dealing with, you know, right now. So, you know, in Albertsons, we were able to put some restraints around automation. We were able to get our members those jobs rather than seeing a third-party worker taking care of that, you know, taking care of those machines. Eventually, our mechanics and our maintenance will be taking care of those machines, which is a huge thing. I know our members were really upset with seeing non-union workers doing that work, and not because they don't like the non-union workers. It's because as you bring in non-union workers that are only be paid $15, $16 an hour with no health care, no pension, you downgrade what's going on at Albertsons, where we've been used to.
Yeah, you devalue the jobs.
Yeah, where we've had great wages, we've had a great pension, we've lived under a union contract, and these members in no way wanted a splinter in the board to happen. So they demanded we either get those jobs or we will strike next year during contract negotiations. So
awesome, that's great. Good, congratulations for you. You know, you've been the principal officer there for a few years now at 952. Any stories you want to share, you know, successes that you want to share with all of our listeners? You know, and obviously it'll be forever recorded too. So
yeah, you know, it's an honor. It's a real honor to be able to represent our members. And I know sometimes our members don't truly understand what we as leadership do. And first and foremost, you put us in the position because you trust us and you give us the hope that we'll do something good for you. But to be able to take 952 and build off of what it was before, get members active. You know, our activism of members at 952 is the biggest it's been in a long time. I mean, you know, anybody and everybody knows that when we need be, we can pull an army of 952 members to show up to rallies.
You guys do a great job of turnout.
Yeah,
yes.
You know, and it is, and really.
When are you going to get a bus like us?
You know what?
You know, by the way, anytime you don't need to buy a bus, you can borrow our bus.
You know what? The members have been hounding on me about it.
I know everybody's members are like, you guys got to get a bus.
But you know, I think the one thing that members need to understand out there is they're the union.
Yes,
they really are. You know, I appreciate the fact that you put me up front to fight for you, but you know, you're actually the teeth in the barking dog, and if I don't have my teeth or my army behind me to support us in any fight, then we're really not a union. I'm one man trying to do everything else, and we need to steer away from that. But you know, we've been able to kind of turned that around at Local 952 and really been able to bargain a lot of good contracts due to the fact that our membership has gotten involved a lot more. We've been able to,
Here's the example I like to give in that, is that unions, the responsibility of a union is a shared responsibility. Part of the responsibility is on the membership and part of it is on the leadership. And that the way unions were constructed in this amazing balance, and it's always got to remain in balance or else it won't work properly.
Correct.
Is that the dues, some will say, oh, it's super expensive. Technically, it's actually relatively low for what it provides. Because the system was built that the shared responsibility was that the membership involvement was part that the members would participate in, and that gave strength and solidarity in numbers, and that then they would elect their leaders to help make good decisions and to lead in doing the daily grind of stuff, the administrative aspect
correct
of labor. And that balance, unfortunately, corporate America has eroded some of that balance by creating rules or undermining our rules. Like in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, you used to be able to require members, if they didn't show up to meetings, you could fine them, or there were certain things that you could kind of leverage
Correct.
to make sure and force the involvement. Well, the Right to Work Foundation, which is anything but right to work, it's obviously a foundation that's undermining workers' rights. That system of undermining the rules that forced engagement, or really created a network of engagement, had those corporate wins, those legal wins to erode our kind of enforcement to it, have eroded our ability to kind of force the balance, right?
Yeah.
To make the balance mandatory. So now, because of some of that, the balance is actually required on volunteerism, right?
Correct.
So if volunteerism is there, it's really important for us to make sure that we recognize that that's the balance.
Correct.
Administratively on the due side of it, participation on the member side of it. When both are together, that's when something's powerful.
Yeah, when we work in harmony, we're going to be the strongest. And I will let you know, over the years, like you said, corporate America and even union busters have fed on the fear of our members. And it's actually turned our members into questioning their union quite a bit. When in reality, stop questioning the union in terms of, are you taking our money? Are you really doing? You know what? Get involved. Hold us accountable. But I'm going to hold you accountable and ask you to show up to picket lines, because at the end of the day, one for all and all for one. You want to put me in a leadership position and hold me accountable? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. But you also need to be part of the solution rather than the problem.
It's okay. I believe it's okay to do that, because we have to do some internal challenge. If we don't do that, then we're going to fall apart.
Correct.
And I'm with you. I'm good with doing the challenge too. And if it costs me my leadership role, then that's what it is.
Correct.
Because I don't want to be part of an organization that's whipped around by by being afraid to challenge the tough moments. So I've only got a couple minutes left.
Yeah,
I got to wrap this up. I really appreciate you coming on, Eric. I got to do a plug here for the Hispanic Caucus Calendar. The 2025 Hispanic Caucus Calendar is out. Make sure that you get a hold of Carlos, Annabelle, Juan, or Abe that are on the Hispanic Caucus to purchase the Hispanic Caucus Calendar. It's a great calendar. It lays out month by month all of the leaders within labor from the Hispanic culture, and they do a great job of it. So make sure that you do that. I also always like to close up my show with what is worker power, is trying to make sure that everybody understands we're building worker power in the IE. And us building worker power, you have to talk to your friends. You have to talk to your family. You see our billboards. You hear our radio show. You see the buses. You see all the activity and the actions in which we're doing in the community. And our Teamster Advantage network is massive and widespread. That is worker power. Talk to your friends. Talk to your family. Talk to your coworkers. Build worker power. Build a union in your place. Get a collective bargaining agreement. This is Randy Corrigan and the Worker Power Hour. KCAA 1050 AM 106.5 FM, the Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network, live from San Bernardino. Signing off, and see you in a couple weeks. Have a Merry Christmas. Thank you all for listening over this year. Looking forward to hearing you next year and looking forward to some great ideas from you. Take it away, Eric.
You would even say you're close.